Hi there, I'm Helen Skelton.
And I'm Rio Ferdinand.
And we are here at Wembley Stadium, the home of football, to celebrate the most famous knockout competition of them all.
That's right, the FA Cup is respected across the world. For the players, believe me, this place is special. Jam-packed with drama, glory and passion.
Yeah, for the fans as well, whether you're watching in the stands in freezing cold or whether you're sitting at home watching on the telly, there's something magical about a big giant killing or a plucky cup run.
If you want to see the very best that this historic competition has produced, look no further. We're about to enjoy the top 50 greatest moments that the FA Cup has ever produced.
The FA Cup final day itself is amazing.
Unbelievable stuff! I've got to be honest, I think they got the colour wrong. I do. I think they got the colour wrong.
So if it don't rain, eh? We will be in trouble.
Oh my God, we're going to beat Arsenal.
In the winter I used to wear a vest, yeah.
Who's got the biggest CV? You have. All right, we're going round yours.
Shouldn't be saying this, but I was actually in the pub. I was in the Bull's Head in Swinton.
Play with, he was great. Play against, he was murder.
I'm now away to get me suit measured. Yes!
He was the porn star of football, wasn't he?
Got up on the Monday morning, severe hangover.
The physique was there for all to see. I mean, a lot of the girls would have been whooping, I should think.
I was just like, whoa! You can pull off those short shorts, you can pull off that hair.
FA Cups make superstars of players.
The magic of the cup and what comes with that, it's a really important part of football.
I'm so proud to say I've won the cup.
There's nothing like it.
We're going to show you 50 of the greatest moments from the most magical competition in domestic football, the FA Cup, all picked by a panel of BBC football experts. Wembley is awe-inspiring, but for players, you must get a bit nervous.
Yeah, you do at times, but you put a bit of old school rap on and off you go.
Is that what's going on through the massive headphones? Always rap. I had you down as more of a Little Mix, Taylor Swift.
No. You can't go wrong with a little bit of old school rap.
I think you can.
Liverpool FC is hard as hell. United, Tottenham, Arsenal.
Watch my lips, and they will spell. They don't just play, but they can rap as well. Liverpool FC. So bad.
Oh, dearie me.
I think the last time I heard that was about 2 or 3 years ago at school. It's genius. It's a great thing.
Well, I'm rapping now. I'm rapping for fun. I'm your goalie, the number one. You can take the nick. Don't call me a clown.
Any more lipping, you're going down.
Bruce Grobbelaar there, turned up, probably a few quid in it for him to do the spaghetti legs.
It's the worst kind of dad dancing, isn't it?
So if you want new trouble and you don't want to slap, you better teach us the Anfield rap.
The Anfield rap to me looks like if I'd have said to my dad in the 80s, Dad, you know, what's Public Enemy? And he'd have come walking out the bathroom, you know, with a shell suit on, a cat backwards and going like that.
All I wanted when I was a kid was a shell suit, and I never got one, because apparently they were too dangerous if they caught on fire.
I mean, I could fit in the video, couldn't I? With my little cyclist hat.
I just remember Johnny Barnes doing his bit in it. That's the iconic bit for me.
You two scousers are always yapping. I'm gonna show you some serious rapping. I come from Jamaica. My name is John Barnes. When I do my thing, the crowd go bananas.
Why John Barnes?
John Barnes, yeah. I think he's a Spanish player. He's played for Spain.
Don't forget, everybody, he comes from Jamaica. His name is John Barnes. Not technically right, but it scans. When he does his thing, the crowd go bananas.
Well, when you've got someone that can sing like John Barnes, then why wouldn't you be doing a rap or a song every season?
Everybody wanted to be a rapper. And I don't know where that came from. Well, it was only John Barnes that could really rap.
It's all right for John Barnes, he can pull it off. Liverpool FC, he's committed to it, he's got some juice to his voice.
Credit to the lads to have the bravery to even, you know, go and do it.
Don't forget us, Paddy. The music they do. And I'm from London, mate, so what's your game?
He comes from there, and he comes from there. He once went to the Lake District.
Craig Johnston's is, how big he is down under. It's a bit odd as well, isn't it?
I'm very big down under from the watch.
I mean, it's borderline culturally insensitive, is what I'm going to call it.
I don't know if it was their own gear or, well, I guess back in the day that's genuinely how they dress. And we know that footballers like to be flamboyant.
I don't think we can condemn the Anfield rap mob for crimes that were happening across culture.
I haven't got the best voice, you see, so I always turn things down like that.
They couldn't have broke the top 40. Surely. It did! Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I've often thought, you know, at times it must be hard being an Arsenal fan.
I've been having my mates taking the Michael for the whole year. Do you know what I mean? For the year before that, the question is, when's the last trophy though? When's the last trophy? When's the last trophy?
They are superstar footballers who haven't won a trophy for a ludicrous amount of time.
So for Arsenal, it was like becoming a joke.
Yeah, because the pressure was building, because they hadn't won a trophy for a long time.
For Arsene Wenger and his team, this was really a moment they had to grab. They had to win it. There was no option.
To be fair, Hull gave them the fright of their life.
Quinn crosses into the penalty, headed down, it's the goal, it's 2-0, it's stopped in by Curtis Davies, the Hull captain, an unbelievable first 8 minutes in the FA Cup final.
You just got that feeling like, oh, I can't believe we're throwing this away.
After 2-0, it's very difficult when you still have got 70 minutes and you have got an animal like Arsenal hunting you down.
Oh my God, we're going to beat Arsenal, we're going to beat Arsenal. No, you're not. What's going to happen is this is going to fall apart, it's going to unravel.
Once we got one bite, I felt a lot more comfortable. I just remember the weird feeling, thinking, no, just don't let this happen today, because that could have been the end of Arsene Wenger.
In it goes, headed on, and a chance, and Arsenal have scored!
Hull fought hard, but for once, Arsenal fought harder, and they went and did it.
Drew sticks on the ball, Ramsey! And Ramsey scores!
I mean, fair play to Ramsey though, because you know, he had an awful tackle a couple of years ago, and you know, he's come back, and I think he's a terrific player.
FA Cup was a vital trophy for Arsene, mainly. Not for Arsenal, for Arsene.
That goal by Aaron Ramsey just may have kept him at Arsenal for the next 10 years.
So for Wenger, the pressure was finally off, and it's allowed him to stay at the club for the next few years. So in hindsight, it was probably a terrible day in the club's history.
To see Arsene Wenger being thrown up in the air by his players was quite odd. I can't have been the only person watching that thinking, they're going to kill him.
You know Arsene Wenger, what's the one on the Muppets who looks like him? Do you know one on the Muppets? He looks dead like him. Is it like the bird one? The like purple crow or whatever he's called?
It was like a sigh of relief, because it was like, here we go boys, we've got something again.
It's a great thing to see as a fan, you know, it's nice to see that side and just how much it means to them.
It's such a relief to finally have a trophy in our cabinet after 9 years.
Vital for the club, especially for the fans. I think that hopefully they can use that as an advantage to be successful in the years to come.
It's probably one of the best comeback, yes, because most of the people thought they were again Arsenal, they're gonna underachieve.
"1966 wasn't all about England winning the World Cup at Wembley. In the FA Cup final, Everton came back from 2-0 down to beat Sheffield Wednesday 3-2, but it was a couple of overzealous fans that stole the show.
Two Everton supporters have raced onto the pitch and they're swamping Trebilco. And their two supporters are going to see no more of this game.
The guy runs on, normally it's some aggressive looking yob. And this guy's like, what, a 65-year-old accountant? He slips off his jacket. That perfect moment for the first copper to grab it and just slides away. Perfect.
Basic police 101 is how to catch a drunk person. Don't end up looking like an idiot.
And a great tackle, almost on the line, as then Everton supporters slips this down.
The second copper, true British style thinking, I could tackle him, but I've got my helmet on. That's not fair play. That's not cricket. Off comes the helmet, dives, the perfect rugby tackle, floors him, down he goes. He's celebrating on the floor like a true hero. And then, of course, the Everton players came along and did what Scousers do best. Calm down, calm down, calm down.
And the phone probably telling the man to go quietly.
The frog marching him off, and he's going, all right, okay, that was a laugh, wasn't it? Can I carry on watching? No, you're coming with us.
Yaya Toure.
2011, Yaya Toure is Manchester City's main man.
They're desperate for success. They've spent so much money on these talented players that they've got. They need to stand up and be counted. They need to step up to the mark.
They could win their first trophy in 35 years, so really, you know, a monumental final this was for them.
Silva, Balotelli, Silva again, Balotelli, pinball, Toure! Yaya Toure, their semi-final hero, gives them the lead on final day.
Against Stoke,
was important because it was the end of the game. If I wanted to get it and shoot it and bounce to the defender, he's coming in the middle. I decided and I shot with my left foot and it was great.
It pains me to see him in a City shirt, but he's just a quality player.
I mean, Yaya tucked it away. Incredible player. I think we all agree that 280,000 a week isn't good enough, and 2 birthday cakes, that ain't enough. The guy's got legitimate complaints.
Got to be wishing Yaya happy birthday. If anybody at City, you wish Yaya, don't you?
I always smile.
Glory for Manchester City! The wait is over!
You always need one trophy. Every manager says it. You need one trophy to start everything going. And that was City's.
For all those naysayers who say, does the FA Cup really matter? Have a look at that bunch of gazillionaires celebrating that trophy. Because it did matter.
Yaya Toure, I think we should pay him some more.
So in 1938, Preston played Huddersfield in the first ever properly televised FA Cup final on the BBC. Not only was television new, commentators were new in 1938, certainly on television. And Tommy Woodruff was doing the radio commentary, and he said, if Huddersfield don't win the cup, I will eat my hat.
Another goal kick for Huddersfield. And I'll eat my hat if there's any score before this whistle goes. How long is it?
Just a minute.
The commentators were so civilised back then. If he scores a goal now, I'll eat my hat. That would never happen now.
If Motson had said, if they score now, I will eat my famous sheepskin coat, he'd probably still be eating it now, wouldn't he, you know? Very dry as sheepskin coat.
If something happens now, I will eat my sheepskin coat. Motty, are you okay?
Another goal kick for Huddersfield. And I'll eat my hat if there's any score before this whistle goes. How long is it?
Just a minute.
And of course, Preston won the game, and you can imagine what happened next. One of the comedy programmes had him with his hat chopped up and a bit of cheese, and they hammed it up so he was seen to eat his hat, you know. But that final was the start of the FA Cup final being televised.
Wayne Hatswell must hate it when anyone scores an own goal these days, because he knows immediately, oh, here we go.
Every time there's an own goal, we used to compare it against one scored by a certain Wayne Hatswell. Now, he won't thank me for this. In fact, he wrote to us at one stage. I think he wrote to me and said, listen, I think enough's enough about mentioning this goal, so please forgive me, Wayne. But you know, it was a brilliant own goal.
And the cameraman's obviously really good because he's thinking, oh, he's just going to clear this. And he was sort of preparing to sort of move the camera to show that it's been cleared. And the next thing is, this thing zooms into the back of the net.
Certainly in FA Cup history, it has to go down as the best for me.
Remember the name, Wayne Hatswell.
If he'd have fist pumped, it would have made it brilliant, wouldn't it? Some of that. Wrong end, Wayne. Oof.
Do you know, I love the idea of being a scout.
Surely you mean girl guides?
Very good. No, I mean a scout that gets to go all over the world watching big matches, big clubs. It seems really glamorous. I bet they get first-class travel, everything.
Listen, it's not always like that, you know.
What do you mean?
Well, sometimes you're just desperate to get 11 decent players out on the pitch. Some clubs will do absolutely anything to find a player. Take a look at this.
Ceefax, a name manufactured from Seeing Facts.
What's not to love about Ceefax? Every day, in from school, 302. Dad, give me that, 302, get it on there.
My dad actually used to always look on there for a cheap holiday. That's how I remember Ceefax.
You could find out roadworks, you could do a little quiz.
But Laurie Sanchez put an advert on Ceefax.
Yeah.
Said, do you play football? Are you cup tied? Can you come and play for me?
And Alan Hutchins said, why don't we put it out on Ceefax that we're looking for a centre forward that isn't cup tied, can play at this level, and it's only a short-term one-off game.
Ceefax it was. He was signed off Ceefax, can you believe it? Yeah, I can't.
Using Ceefax back then, it was the equivalent of like, I guess like Tinder or something like that.
Not quite.
So, hang on, are you cup tied?
When the draw was made, Leicester versus Wycombe Wanderers, I think we had this thought in our heads, wow, we're in the semi-final before we got there.
Wycombe take the stage for this showpiece FA Cup tie with a team of understudies with half a dozen senior players injured. Anyone fit plays.
May went one up. We equalised. I was taken off in the game. I done my cartilage.
And we get the most blatant handball. I see it, and I'm shouting at the referee, and I'm walking, I'm thinking, every step I take is going to cost me another £100.
And Laurie Sanchez is he's been sent off. Oh, that's a disappointment for the Wycombe manager.
Perhaps the angriest a manager has ever got in a slightly damp olive trench coat.
And all of a sudden I'm sitting in the change room thinking it's going to be a replay. And then I hear Lawrie Sanchez screaming.
So I'm actually watching on the TV. Roy goes up front, last minute of the game, literally last minute of the game.
Oh yes! Isando! Unbelievable!
Imagine if that happened now. It would be the story of not just the weekend but the season.
Steve Bennett checks his watch. Oh, it's all over. Wycombe are in the semi-finals of the FA Cup.
That was the only goal that Roy scored that season, and he's a centre forward.
You definitely got to remember the name Roy Asindall. That is a legendary thing to do. You know, it's a shame he never got another goal though.
His name is in FA Cup folklore now, forever, Roy Asindall.
All that is just the beginning. And looking even further ahead, there's the really exciting possibility of using a domestic television receiver as a home computer terminal.
So there we are, back at the new Wembley. Chelsea, Manchester United, two outstanding teams. We're going, yes, come on, this will be great.
The home of the FA Cup is at Wembley, so it was great to get back, and it's where it belongs.
What a pig's ear of a game that was.
Mikel played that forward to Drogba. It's Drogba again! And Chelsea have scored! And it's Didier Drogba with the first goal in an FA Cup final at the new Wembley!
I think that was the start of Chelsea's dominance in the FA Cup. I think in the next 6 years they won 4, so Drogba, I played against him numerous times, and you know, such a big, physical, imposing character.
It's so frustrating, and you're just like,
and you're like, stop!
Didier is just amazing at adapting to a situation and being on form and not letting things get to him. I'm not surprised he scored in every cup final that he's played in, because he's a top centre forward.
The little 1-2 on the edge of the box was a very, very neat piece of football, but the finish was sublime. The way the goalkeeper came out and Drogba just sort of lifted it over him and stroked it into the side of the net.
If I could be a little bit critical in this final, is that I think Rio could have done a little bit better. You've got to admit that the movement and the passing between Lamps and Drogba is pretty special.
Whenever you lose a cup final, like I say, there's no coming back from it, and it's end of the season, and you know, it's not a nice feeling.
And you'd have to argue on the day, the goal was far better than the game, but he would have been the only person on that pitch capable of scoring that goal.
Throughout the 1970s, the FA Cup threw up some major shocks, and none bigger than in 1978, when Ipswich beat Arsenal. The emotion of the occasion got to Ipswich striker Roger Osborne, and while celebrating his winning goal, he jumped up and down so much he came over a little peculiar.
This member of a family of 12 have come in a special bus to watch the match, puts it away, and one of the Ipswich players in trouble, and it looks to me like Osborne.
You don't get a doctor, you don't get anyone, frankly, with any medical training. You just get a bloke coming on with a sponge, and it seems to work as well.
Being revived with smelling salts is a bit weird. Like, it's a bit Victorian. Was Dr. Crippen there? Did he have a hanky with his initials on them? I just can't imagine that happening to a footballer now, unless they lost a sponsorship deal.
So in the very moment of glory for him, Roger Osborne, the goal scorer, leaves the field.
It's a bit like when you're a kid at a birthday party and you get too excited and make yourself sick. You have to go and sit down. It's like he was having the best time, and then he got so excited that he had to be subbed off. You never been so excited you make yourself sick at a birthday party?
I'm never inviting you to my birthday party.
They often talk, don't they, about, you know, they say scoring an FA Cup goal is, you know, it's better than, yeah. Well, let me tell you that sometimes when there's been smelling salts involved, you know, they've had to revive me, they've carried me off, they put me in a room, and then gentlemen in shorts have arrived later on.
Score the goal.
Scored a goal in an FA Cup final. Good night.
You know, sometimes you look at fixtures in the FA Cup and we're all up for a shock as soon as a fixture comes out, as soon as a draw's made, and there was this Norwich-Luton, you think, now, you know, it's something Luton nil.
This is Fleetwood. O'Donnell's calling for it, and he's on the charge. Got Rendell in the centre. Lawless arriving at the far post. It's there! Rendell! Conference side Luton lead at Premier League Norwich.
I think in terms of FA Cup giant killings for me, I think that's probably the best I've ever witnessed.
Whilst Luton's victory is fresh in people's minds, the FA Cup has always thrown up surprises. In 1976, as the country basked in a heatwave, the nation got ready for Manchester United to dispose of second division Southampton. Laurie McMenemy had other ideas, and his team soaked up the pressure, scoring a late, controversial goal to cause one of the most unexpected wins in the history of the FA Cup.
Now, was he offside when that ball was played? They'll complain for years possibly about that, but when he got there, with 7 minutes left for play, he slotted it in.
I'm a Man U fan, but that, I guess, is the beauty of the FA Cup.
Definitely.
No matter what league you're in, you've got a chance of winning it, and it produces shock results.
When you remember that final, the thing that we always pops out is Ray Parlour's goal.
Luton, an awkward running by Ray Parlour here. He's got two to his left, and Parlour shoots! Oh, Ray Parlour has given Arsenal the lead in the cup final with a belter.
Ray Parlour got a chance and we all thought, shoot? Because normally when he shoots, he doesn't hit the target.
That's a bit strong, isn't it? Hit and hope. No, well, I've done it every day in training. I mean, but to do it in a big game like that is extra special.
I remember Lee Dixon celebrating behind the goal because he was warming up, and as it's going in, Dicko puts his arms up. He's like, yes!
Loads of people have got nicknames. Occasionally you come up with a beauty, and whoever came up with Romford Pele was a genius.
It was in training one day, and I went round about 3 or 4 players, Nutmeg Dennis Bergkamp, and little Mark Overmars ran past me and said, you are like the Romford Pele. And I said, you don't even know where Romford is, do you?
If he's the Romford Pele, then I'm the Romford Maradona.
I doubt it. But yeah, you know, Pele is Pele, isn't he? What a great goal scorer.
I've been privileged enough to interview Pele a couple of times, and the first time I interviewed him, I was desperate to know if he'd ever heard of the Romford Pele, and he never had.
Welcome to Match of the Day, and we start by toasting the happiest man in football tonight, Harry Redknapp, the manager of Bournemouth, who this afternoon beat cup favourites Manchester United 2-0.
I think we'd had 1 or 2 injuries before the game, but we were still a strong side going down there. Big Ron had a good side at Manchester United as well and played really good football. But I think it would appear that he just took this game a little bit too lightly. I mean, the stories are going about, you know, they were watching the racing before the match and all those kind of things. So from Harry Redknapp's point of view, he goes in and tells his boys they're not interested. Every time the FA Cup comes round, Harry throws that one in from somewhere.
The Bournemouth goalkeeper's told by the owner of a local pizza place, hey, if you keep a clean sheet, you're going to get free pizza for the rest of your life. So he keeps a clean sheet and he starts getting pizza whenever he wants, until Harry Redknapp buys the pizza shop.
That's like the cruelest joke.
Free pizza is for life, Harry Redknapp, not until you buy the restaurant and decide to not give away free pizza anymore.
Maybe the keeper had a weight problem. I don't know, but a fantastic result for Bournemouth, most certainly, in one of the big upsets as well.
Sorry, mate. You know you can't do an impression of Harry Redknapp.
Well, you say that. Well, I don't think I quite like the look of that boy.
Harry will have had his knockbacks in the FA Cup, but he does like throwing that one in.
I quite like the look of that boy. Is that his catchphrase? that's Redknapp skating for players, isn't it?
It's got to be the greatest day of my life, and I'm sure the greatest day in the lives of all the players. And it was just, you know, it's a great afternoon for everybody in Bournemouth. We're delighted.
Amazing. The gaff hasn't changed one bit, has he?
Yeah, right. Joking aside, people do make their name in the FA Cup, though, don't they?
Of course you can, but not always for the right reasons.
Some people are remembered for their heroics, other people for their blunders.
Yeah, well, things don't always go to plan, especially here on a football pitch at Wembley. When the pressure's on, things go wrong.
Most people, if they talk about the FA Cup final, they don't mention the fact that I did score or we got to the final, they mention my miss.
Number 8, Howlett. Chipping one in for Gordon Smith. It's there! Gordon Smith for Brighton after 14 minutes.
And I always remember walking up at half-time and looking up at the scoreboard, and it was Brighton, Hove Albion 1, Manchester United 0, and my name was up on the scoreboard, and I thought, at least I'll be remembered for this game, and unfortunately I am.
The game's drawn 2-2 and Gordon Smith gets this incredible chance to win the game.
Yeah, ball played forward to Robinson. Robinson going forward strong. He's inside the Manchester United penalty area. He finds Smith, and Smith must score, and he hasn't scored, and Bailey has saved it.
I have to say that, you know, I take full responsibility for my miss, because I actually should have scored, but looking back now, I would have done it differently. I should have probably gone for a corner. I should have opened my body out like you would do in a penalty kick, as if I was going to play it side foot into his left-hand side and fire it across him into the far corner. I made a mistake there. It was a bad miss, and I take full responsibility for it.
Obviously, had he scored, beaten United, won the cup, career change for good, more money, more fame.
And Gordon Smith will remember that moment for a very, very long time indeed.
I'll tell you, when I became aware, it was quite interesting. I was with Manchester City at the time, and we were over in Kuala Lumpur on a tour, and we were sitting at the pool one day just sunbathing, and there was a little kid came round getting autographs, and he came to me, and I was lying with my eyes shut, and I took his book from him and I signed it, and I said, yeah, thank you, and I closed my eyes, and this little kid, he must have been about 11 or 12 years old, said, "You're Gordon Smith?" And I said, "Yes." And he goes, "How are you missing cup final?" And I thought, it's not going to be forgotten.
Some things are not a fluke with Gianfranco, and this is not a fluke.
So to take, what a good corner, but still turned in brilliantly by Zola. Well, it looked like a backheel into the net.
I think magician is a really right nickname for Gianfranco Zola, because he was a magician on a football pitch.
Oh, look at that! That was sensational. Look at that!
I've seen 2 or 3 since that are similar, but I'd never seen a back-heeled volley before. You just thought, yowzers, how's he done that? Straight in the garden and try out yourself.
And then he does the nicest thing ever, which is to score the most remarkable goal he can, do something special for a kid who unfortunately he'd visited and was quite sick and unfortunately died before this match. But he'd said, I want to do something special for you, and he really pulled out the stops.
That was something that I was looking for a couple of weeks, because I had promised something special to a friend of mine, a small child. His name was Matthew, and I went to see him to the hospital, and I said to him, look, you have to wait, because I'm gonna promise something. I promise I'm gonna give you something special. Unfortunately, he couldn't see him. Probably, I hope he will see from somewhere else.
Oh, look at that! That was sensational.
I'm a very straight man, but David Ginola is a good-looking boy.
Ginola, the ladies loved him. Just the name, just the way you say it, just sounds good, doesn't it?
He had that joie de vivre, he had panache, he had brioche in his house.
No, he is a rock star, him, innit? You know, he goes on nights out in Crete and that and just like gets fish bowls and stuff. He'll still be going for him.
And you talk about swagger and style and fashion. Like he brought that to football. He had that.
People always refer to him with his ooh la la and because I'm worth it and his hair, but we can't forget that wonder goal in '99 against Barnsley.
I wouldn't be surprised if at the time of this tie, David Ginola had never heard of Barnsley. David Ginola used to be David Ginola, but when he started doing stuff like this, we have to start calling him David.
Ginola easily past the defender and past Blackmore, and round to Zeo. Oh, that's a wondrous goal.
My goal actually was going right through the defense in a quite straight line. The most important was for me to keep the ball as close to my feet as possible. I put my right foot and I put the ball in the back of the net.
He scored that incredible goal and then he took off his shirt. Not so sure about that grandpa vest underneath, but we'll just disregard that.
The air popping out, shorts pushing up to his nipples. David. Should have looked in the mirror at that one, shouldn't you?
Well, in the winter I used to wear a vest, yeah. It wasn't the prettiest one, but it kept myself quite warm.
It's like a baggy vest. The kind of thing like a pensioner would wear in bed. He spoils it. He spoils it. The vest spoils it.
Any of you guys wear vests? No? You don't wear vests?
He's French, mate, probably gets loads of girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get loads of girls, don't we?
Mine was just French people.
It just goes to show that that's the delicate balance of sexy. You can look fantastic as soon as you pop your shirt off and a vest. It's like, oh, I've got a headache.
David Schindler seems able constantly to push back the boundaries of just what's possible.
At Barnsley, this goal was just a celebration, and I was very light. I could have took everything off.
Some old couple from Barnsley in the crowd, and she nudges him and goes, "Hey up, Ron, you've got one like that. Try that when we get home."
It might well be the best save in FA Cup history. It's extraordinarily good.
Top goalkeepers can intimidate forwards. Peter was like that, and definitely David Seaman was like that.
It was my 1000th game, and it was special for me to go out because I was captain for the day, and it ended up being my last game. We weren't playing that well. Then we got a goal.
Lombard! And Arsenal have scored!
Then I'm thinking, right, can we hang on? And then, I make my save. Just that that save.
Page again, the shot's not been in, and it's not gone in. How did it stay out? The Starmer can't believe it.
I was doing punditry for BBC that day, so I'm actually sat there watching the line, and I couldn't believe that he made that save.
A Starmer's volley, and then Tesca Solido, and Seaman, what a magnificent save.
I just remember the ball coming in and then shifting side to side, and then realising that the ball had then got back to Piscicalido, who was open goal, and he headed it, and I don't think he got the best contact on it, but that enabled me to really arch back.
The thing is with that kind of save is if you stop the ball, it's absolutely fantastic, but he didn't that. He got his hand to it, and actually it was like a throw. It was just stunning.
What can you say about the veteran goalkeeper? A fabulous save.
It was great to prove a lot of people wrong, because I was thinking I was about 39 when I made that save, and I got a decent hairstyle and a tash.
You don't see much ponytails these days, and moustache. So it's a very interesting mix.
Moustache down like a Mexican bandit.
I wasn't sure about the ponytail.
Well, jealousy is a terrible thing, Tom.
Because I always think,
oh, a bald man doesn't like a man's ponytail. What a surprise.
I was one half of that look with a ponytail, but I never quite went for the moustache. I think moustache and a ponytail, hard combination to pull off that.
David Seaman, I think, was just he was the porn star of football, wasn't he? That's what he was going for, I reckon, David Seaman.
Seaman!
You know, the kid in school that's the goalkeeper, and he's proper garbage, but you never give him any grief because he always brings his gloves and offers to go and goal. So to me, it was like that. I never ever thought Seaman was good, but I always was like, well, fair play to him, he's going in net, you know what I mean?
I would put David Seaman down. He's probably the best goalkeeper that I played with.
The most important thing about that save is the guy who followed the rebounding blazed it over the bar, and it was an easy chance. He scores that, my save never gets mentioned. So thank you.
Paul Allen was the youngest player ever in an FA Cup final at that time.
Looking again. Oh, that's beautifully done, Allen. Now, can the 17-year-old take them on? He can. Allen is through. Oh, what a pity. A cynical foul by Willie Young. And fully deserving of the yellow card it got. The 17-year-old might have made a storybook finish there.
I think at that time, referees were much more reticent to issue a red card and send players off. It's so commonplace now, but red cards were you actually commit a major offence to get a red card back in 1980.
And that was an absolutely direct chance of a shot on goal and spoiled by the worst sort of professional foul.
That brute that was Willie Young scythed him down, and I don't think he even went for it. He should have been sent off.
Could you imagine that in today's day as well, and certainly with an FA Cup where hundreds of millions of people are watching? It was a bit of a nothing game, to be honest, and it'd be always remembered for Sir Trevor's header.
Oh, Devonshire's round the back. Oh, right across, it's free. Driven in, and is it a goal? It is. Trevor Brooking. The ball ricocheted in off him, and West Ham are in front.
It's one of the stranger headers that you will see, because in fact it is quite brilliant, because he is falling backwards and it hit him on the head,
and it went in. Sorry, Trev. But they all count, don't they?
I never remember him heading a ball in his life, let alone scoring, and to score in the FA Cup final as well, when I'm still convinced he was trying to get out of the way of it.
We had a lovely trip home from Wembley that day. We all went down there on a flatbed truck, and we decided to do a little detour down through Islington because they all had their street parties all sorted out, the Gooners. They were so going to win it. So we had big loudspeakers on the flatbed truck, and just they got a bit of bubbles, put it that way. There were all these little Gooners sitting there eating their jelly. They were dancing their way through Islington.
Every programme I ever present, when people say, who do you want to get on as a guest, I always say Trevor Sinclair. Because you can say, Trevor Sinclair's with us, remember this goal?
Spencer's cross comes in. And the shot! Oh! Magnificent! That is brilliant!
We'd been working hard in that game, and I was blowing a little bit, and I thought, well, I can't bring this down, it's too difficult to control. I might as well just go for it.
The man has overhead kicked it in from 30 yards. There will never be a better goal than that.
If you asked a lot of the players at the time, they would say, well, Trevor used to try overhead kicks in training quite often, so they wouldn't have been surprised that I went for it.
Should we see it again? Go on, shout it again. Go on.
And the shot! Oh! Magnificent! That is brilliant!
He's not even in the top 10. Who's in charge of this?
I'd have to say it's definitely the best goal I've ever scored.
Trevor, I feel your pain. Forget this lot, they're a bunch of idiots.
Did you ever get the infamous hairdryer treatment from Sir Alex?
Yeah, of course. I mean, I remember one time he just stood over me, blew in the face, slobbering over me like a St Bernard.
Good breath, bad breath?
I didn't get to smell that, I'll be honest with you.
Seriously though, I mean, it wasn't always champagne and celebrations, was it?
Well, if it wasn't for a certain Robin Reliant, it might have been a very different story for Fergie and United.
It's been an upsetting time for supporters of Manchester United. A power struggle in the boardroom, a lack of success in the league despite big signings. So today's cup tie highly significant and hugely important for the club.
It was a strange game, to be fair, because it was a game where it wasn't about the FA Cup. Even though it was an FA Cup game, it was about if we lost that game, would Alex Ferguson lose his job?
The whole cup run was almost like his job was hanging by a thread, and this was keeping him going.
Shouldn't be saying this, but I was actually in the pub. I was in the Bull's Head in Swinton. Watching it.
And I remember the camera continually on Fergie, and he looked a haggard man.
Everyone wanted him out of the job. Everyone thought he was going to get sacked, and Mark Robins scored a brilliant goal.
And here's Robins! And did he get the deflection? Was it Robins or Pearce? I think it may well have been the fullback.
Is now one of those goals that goes down in folklore as being the moment that Alex Ferguson's career was saved at Manchester United. And when you think of the possibility that he could have been sacked then, and all that emanated, you know, in the 90s and then into the 2000s in his success in silverware, that wouldn't have happened.
United are through. Some joy at last for Alex Ferguson.
The goal scores, they go on and win the FA Cup, and Fergie time goes on for 26 years.
Mark Robins, I salute you.
Congratulations to Spurs, who in 1961 did the double for the first time since Preston North End had done it way back in 1889. It was Spurs who took all of the plaudits that day, but spare a thought for poor Len Chalmers, Leicester's right back.
Side to Chalmers, who's gone down and he's hurt. That tackle with Allen. McClintock rolling in agony, but it's Jones with it.
The injury to Chalmers was one in a catalogue of Wembley injuries caused by the lushness of the turf, where they caught their foot and twisted something, although there had been a challenge, which I think today probably would have been contested.
Well, it would appear the two trainers are on there with him now, and they're tapping his shin bone. There was a tremendous crack when he went down, and I'm wondering if it might be a suspect break.
There was no substitutes, so you had two choices. You played with 10 men, or you put him out on the wing as a passenger.
It looks as if Len Chalmers is going to get up. He's refusing to go off. He must be in terrible pain. Back to the game now.
So, Motti, would footballers play on with a broken leg today?
No, because the sub would be on.
I think it has to have been the most dramatic 5-minute period of any cup final.
Wouldn't say the first 85 minutes were completely devoid of good football. There was some in there, and Arsenal were easily the better side, 2-0 up. And then with 5 minutes to go, United suddenly got from somewhere a bit of inspiration.
Left for Koppel. Thomas almost got a flick on, appeals for hands against Jordan. And McQueen! Gordon McQueen turned it in! United have scored with just under 4 minutes to go.
Nobody expected them to get back to 2-2, but those last, I don't know, 5-10 minutes of the game, it was utter madness.
OK, they called it the 5-minute final. I understand why. Because the last 5 minutes was gripping.
Right across, Sunderland! It's there! It's 3-2! Arsenal are back in front through Alan Sunderland.
Alan Sunderland's face, the pure joy writ large as he ran away with his head back, screaming. Possibly one of the greatest cup final celebrations ever.
I think in the build-up, being a bit of a football snob, you looked at Middlesbrough-Chesterfield and thought, not that bothered about that. Borough will win easily, but Chesterfield produced one of the finest semi-final performances you could see. Chesterfield were 2-0 up, playing against 10 men. Borough came back. Really, they should have at least had a better chance to go through because, you know, they had one cruelly taken away.
Players were looking across at the referee's assistant, Alan Sheffield. Howard had the chance. Now, that looked to me like it went over the line.
It's just a surprise to me that goal line technology, Hawkeye, the rest of it, wasn't invented in Chesterfield because had it been in operation then, well, they might have been in the cup final.
Wembley Stadium, May 1927. Nearly 40 years have gone since the crowds, many thousands of them from the Principality, packed the stands to see their teams presented to King George V. A proud moment for the captains, Charles Buchan of Arsenal and Fred Keener of Cardiff City.
The Cardiff-Arsenal game is famous because of the referee wearing a bow tie, which simultaneously created the infamous chant, the referees.
I think all referees should wear bow ties. Like, if we lost our manners, in fact, the bow tie should spin whenever they're making a decision.
The referee is either on his way back from, it could be the walk of shame he's done. You know, he's been in Marylebone the night before with the young lady of the night.
And then suddenly it happens. Ferguson gets possession of the ball. A first-time shot. Lewis fumbles and Cardiff have scored.
The goalkeeping error is like still spoken about to this day.
Yeah.
I think poor Dan Lewis, that was it. That was his life then.
That was his claim to fame.
Sorry, boss, I twisted on my new jersey.
Oh, you did you? Oh, in which case it's fine. I don't care that Cardiff won.
Now, if you play football and your team is lucky enough to get to a cup final, you don't just have to be a brilliant soccer player, it helps if you can sing too.
In 1987, Coventry City were massive underdogs. Armed with a catchy little song and a job lot of baby blue tracksuits, they took on Spurs.
Those two clubs went out on the Wembley pitch that day and they just went for it.
87 was probably the worst day of my life in football terms.
The goal that I remember most about that cup final, the one which for me would be worthy of winning any game, was the header by Keith Houchen.
It was a classic old-fashioned centre-forwards diving header about, 3 feet off the ground.
That perfect height between the defender and the goalkeeper. I think Keith Houchen, if he's honest, he'd probably tell you himself that he thought, I've got no chance of getting to that unless I fling myself at it.
I threw myself at it, and obviously I was there in plenty of time, and I could actually see where the goalkeeper was and see where the goal was. It was a matter of getting it past the keeper and getting it on target.
Pickering's in the centre, Regis joining him. Oh, Mabbott! It's an own goal! Gary Mabbott put it in. Lloyd McGrath gets the congratulations. It's one of those that he just inadvertently deflected.
I remember stood right behind the ball, and the only place it could have got in was between the crossbar and the post and Ray Clemens' hand, and it did.
In the end, it was somewhat unfortunate in a way that it had to be settled by an own goal, which it was with Gary Mabbott.
To this day, I don't even know how we lost that game. We were so madly favored. We had such a wonderful, wonderful team.
Ideally, it would have been Keith Houchin's header that won it, but it wasn't. But that is the moment that stands out from that final.
I know, because I've seen it enough times, things can change in the dying moments of a game. But surely, if you're 3-0 up at half-time, they've had a player sent off, you get a bit cocky in the dressing room. You can start to think about the next round, can't you?
No. Not in the FA Cup. You've got to be focused. Just like the first half, go out there and finish the job off. Because this FA Cup becomes a rollercoaster ride. Just watch this.
This game was just mad. Tottenham in the first half were just so far in front of Manchester City. You think this game could be anything in terms of the score.
And that's Ziga! Well, he did fancy it and puts Tottenham 3-0 up.
And you imagine Kevin Keane gets in at half-time, he's thinking, what am I going to do about this? And Joey Barton walks in and says, boss, can I have a word? I've been sent off. Walking off the pitch. Anelka's injured, and he must have thought, do you know what? Can't get any worse.
And how can you come back away from home with a man less, 3 goals down?
I think at half-time there was a lot of people looking at themselves in the mirror and quite severely dressing themselves down.
And then it just starts happening.
Oh, it's there! Distan was there! And Manchester City are not finished yet!
Came out second half and it was a totally different performance. We had a lot of desire and we had a lot of pride, and we were hurting, and I think that the way the lads brought it back, I think showed a great team spirit and a great will to put a good display on and give them travelling fans something to shout about.
This is Fowler. Oh, and Wright Phillips is the onside. The linesman says yes. And is this 3-3? It is! And there was no flag. And Sean Wright Phillips has put the 10 men level.
They got back to 3-3 with Sean Wright Phillips, and you're sort of thinking, OK, replay, what a comeback. And then John Macken.
Macken's coming in. He scored! Astonishing! Would you possibly have believed this? Jonathan Macken has made it 4-3 to Manchester City and almost certainly knocked Spurs out of the FA Cup.
Floodlights were on, 10 men giving it their all, coming from behind. It was a bit like dogging, really, wasn't it?
When you think of the players City have got now, you can't even imagine that they would have had a player like John Macken on their books, but he did a decent job for City and plenty of other teams, and that was undoubtedly his finest moment in a sky blue shirt.
And you could play that game 1,000 times, and 999 of them, you would never ever come back from 3 down with 10 men and win it. But they did on that occasion.
And I'd love to have known what he said to them at half-time. He probably actually said, look, boys, we can't do any worse. Sometimes that works. It worked that day.
You've got players like, you know, Ron Chopper Harris on one side and Norman Bites Your Legs Hunter. It was just so dirty.
It's exactly what you want from Chelsea Leeds. That's what I like about it, is you think, OK, it's going to be Chelsea Leeds, it's going to be a dirty final. Oh, it really is going to be a dirty final.
They're not messing around.
They're not messing around, no, they're getting into it, and they absolutely delivered.
And Osborne and Bremner. And, Hutchinson right into Bremner. There was no excuse for that. And he must be booked.
There are some incredible fouls in that game that, I mean, how it didn't end with like 3 aside, I don't know.
You could have done without a ball for probably 68 minutes because it was just vendettas, it was everybody getting the retaliation in first, but that's the way that football was, and they were tough boys, and when they were kicked they got up, but they kicked you back.
The net is had.
That was like a Saturday night at Yates's Wine Lodge. It was just all kicking off.
Players used to be able to jump into the goalkeeper and force him into the net, and they'd be given a goal. I'm not saying to go back to that, but, you know, it's a physical sport.
There's been this thing now, hasn't there, where they've analysed the game afterwards, and for fun, David Ellery's watched a game from 4 years ago and gone, actually there should have been so many yellow cards. Oh, come on, David, surely you've got trains to spot, haven't you?
Don Revie's Leeds getting knocked out at Colchester. I mean, when you think about the FA Cup and everyone talks about the underdogs, and the cup-winning exploits.
It's not too far away from where I live. I remember the celebrations as well when a guy scored the goal and he's running around and the fans. Them days it was all standing and the atmosphere was superb.
To beat Leeds 3-2, to score 3 goals against them, all conquering Leeds, was a fantastic performance.
That's what the FA Cup's all about. That's why we love it so much. We want upsets. You don't want to be involved in an upset as a player, but you want to see that because that's what the Cup's all about.
So the 1923 FA Cup final, the White Horse final, where the crowd spills onto the pitch and is kept in control by a man on a horse.
The arena was supposed to hold 125,000 people. The programme boasted how good the stadium was going to be, but on the day, twice as many people as that turned up. It wasn't an all-ticket match, and some 250,000 there got inside Wembley, as a result of which the policeman on the White Horse, George Scory, had to restore order, and they delayed the kick-off for 45 minutes.
It's interesting, really, because, you know, we often denigrate the prawn sandwich brigade. You know, where have the real fans gone? But if you see it early on, there's evidence here it's the top hats versus the flat caps, isn't it, in many ways?
It's like a classic north-south clash, you know. If they were to make a film of it now, it would probably have Danny Dyer there in a flat cap calling everyone a toilet, and then Peter Kay with like a cup of Bovril pretending to be Paul.
And of course, hundreds of thousands of people on the pitch. One White Horse comes on, disperses the crowds. People were just more polite then, weren't they? If a White Horse asked you to do something, you just did it.
One man on a white horse manages to send everyone back.
Yeah.
It's like Gandalf in Lord of the Rings.
The only time Bolton get a bit of limelight, get to the FA Cup, and a White Horse takes the attention away.
Apparently there's over 200,000 million people there. My main concern, which no one talks about, is what were the states of the toilets and what were the queues to toilets like. That's my #1 problem with going to see sport. And it's never referred to. It's like, oh, look how many people there were there. You go to need a toilet once, that's half the match gone.
I said never trust a man in a flat cap. That's what I say. This is not a flat cap, it's a baker boy. There's a difference.
This was when Everton were just coming into fruition as the top team in England, which they arguably were for 3 or 4 years.
Elton John was the owner of Watford in those days. He was their chairman. He just got married, hadn't he? And I think he was alongside his wife, which was in itself something to obviously remember.
Elton John, chairman of Watford, added another dimension to the occasion, and his reaction to Abide With Me, which was sung with emotion and enthusiasm, was memorable.
He got upset, and that's what happens in the FA Cup.
The whole kind of emotion of the occasion, the 100,000 people, and he just broke down.
Big story was Watford getting there, wasn't it, really, as much as anything else, and could they do it against the strong favourites that were Everton?
Graham Sharp waiting in the centre, and Gray is closing in here. Oh, and Sherwood didn't connect, and the goal is given. The challenge of Gray, too much for the goalkeeper, and Everton are 2-0 in the lead.
It was heartbreaking for him. And I'm sure he would still, if you asked him now, his eyes would light up and he'd talk about Andy Gray's goal being a foul on Steve Sherwood.
The new LP, shortly to be released by Elton John, is called Broken Hearts. There might be 1 or 2 of those around Watford tonight.
Just shows what the FA Cup and the final meant to people, that somebody like Elton John, multi-millionaire, one of the biggest stars in the world at the time, as he is still now, here at Watford, this is what he really loves.
Having been to Wembley twice and lost twice in FA Cup finals, Wembley is not a very nice place to be when you haven't won the competition. I can assure you of that.
People involved in the losing team, whether it's the players, whether it's the management, whether it's the owner, whether it's the supporters, it's the worst feeling ever.
Oh, bless him. That gets me a bit, that.
That's football, Helen. It's an emotional game. Move on.
All right. Anyway, we've got 20 more amazing FA Cup moments to go. Here's what's coming up.
The best thing for me in the FA Cup is giant killing.
Radford again. Oh, what a goal! What a goal!
The day of the final is special. There's nothing like it.
I'm now away to get me suit measured. Yes!
You open it up and it's this cream suit.
You can pull off those short shorts. You can pull off that hair.
I just remember seeing his legs way above his head. Oh my God, Giggs is hairy! That
That's what ruined it for me, the cartwheel. It wasn't good enough, was it?
Well, what do you think, Ellen? Classy or what?
Yeah, I mean, classy's one word. I don't think a lot of people could pull it off, but you look great.
Well, I wasn't too convinced, if I'm honest.
But for a celebrity wedding or fancy dress or something like that would be okay.
Listen, FA Cup final day, you want to go unnoticed.
This is for FA Cup final day?
Yes.
No.
Would you believe it? This grumpy bunch has reached the 3rd round of the FA Cup.
I know. Whole town's talking about it.
Smarten them up a bit. I want to be real proud when we walk out to inspect the pitch at Wembley.
Can't touch this. I've got to be honest, I think they got the colour wrong. I do. I think they got the colour wrong.
It's like with that rain, eh? We will be in trouble.
If you would do it now, maybe it would be different, but that was a huge mistake.
You get given your suit and a suit carrier with your name on it, you undo it, you open it up and it's this cream suit.
I mean, whose idea was it for them to turn up in them cream suits?
I swear, the crowd thought we were the band when we walked out. There was just a silence in there. There was like no cheering. And they must have been thinking, oh, this is the band who just walked out. And it was like, that was it, because these cream suits.
Can't remember a band coming out of Wembley wearing cream suits, red ties and sunglasses. Nah, don't think so, Jason.
When I first saw it, I didn't think that it was that bad. I thought, you know, people wear cream suits all the time. I just think when there's 20 lads all together in cream suits, it probably looks a little bit different.
If you walk on the pitch in a white suit, you're saying, yeah, I'm that good. I can wear a white suit. Because you've got to already think that you're halfway up the steps collecting the trophy to be wearing a white suit.
Cocky? Okay. We will learn.
When we seen the suits, we had a little chuckle to ourselves, and then I went over to Russia. I went, Russia, what's going on? He went, nothing to do with me.
Don't wear cream suits if you're not in for the ice cream industry or, like, I don't know, pet burial.
They look like lottery winners when they go to their family with still Paul's wedding and just dress a bit inappropriately.
And I've got to admit, I thought at one point, we actually looked all right.
And what are they thinking? Springtime, cream suits, nice.
I'm still on the lookout for a cream suit, man. I might buy one after this, man. I've got like a dark brown thing going on, but I ain't got a cream one.
It looks silly, but we also said we can't lose to a team wearing, you know, suits like that.
James gets there just first.
It was a goal that only Eric could score.
It was like in slow motion, like one of them Matrix moments where it's coming at you and there's nothing you can do about it.
The volley, I mean, he's even going backwards as he strikes it, and it goes through 3 or 4 players, and I just remember going absolutely mental.
If they'd have won, it would have been fine, no problem at all. But obviously when you lose and you come out with cream, white suits, whatever it was, you're going to take a bit of stick.
If we would have won the game, we would have looked $1 million. But we lost the game and looked $1 million later.
At Highbury today, there was a hugely controversial incident which had the usually phlegmatic Sheffield United manager Steve Bruce raging.
A player's down for Sheffield United, the ball wants to be kicked out of play, and they take the throw-in quickly.
And off we go again, and what is happening here? This is Kanu to Overmars, and Overmars has put the ball in the net, and Sheffield United are furious.
I remember the fans behind me shouting to me, Seaman, you've got to throw it in the net. That's not, you know, and I was like, I really didn't know what to do, you know, and all the way up for the rest of the game, I was thinking, this can't be right.
Well, I think Parra must surely have been trying to get that ball back to Kelly or out of play for a goal kick. Certainly that's the way these things are normally conducted.
The ball went out and I picked the ball up and I was just throwing it back to the Sheffield United players, and I think Kanu ran after it. He probably didn't understand what was going on, and Mark Overmars was running from the left-hand side. He crossed it and put it into the back of the net, and it was nearly a riot.
I don't know why we did that. I don't know the life of me why we did that.
I don't think Kanu knew.
That's what I'm saying. He didn't understand the whole concept of it.
In football, you always do that. You know, you give it back to
you
them.
give it back.
We got in the dressing room, a lot of the players were saying, you know, we can't go through on this, something's got to happen, because, you know, you don't want to go through on a situation like that where, you know, it's such bad sportsmanship.
We are unfortunately scored a second goal. That spirit-wise is not right. We offered to replay the game, and to replay it here because we have the feeling we didn't win it like we want to win our games.
The game is about honour, man, and respect as well. So that was very noble of him to say, you know, let's do a replay and let's have it again.
Some Sheffield United fans thought it should have been replayed at Bramall Lane, but we weren't going to go that far.
Arsenal have. They said they would play the replay. I believe that's the right decision. If it had been mine, I would have done exactly the same thing, and I expect that of Arsenal, yes.
If Arsenal hadn't have acted the way that they did, there could have been chaos. But I think it showed the class of English football, to be fair, that day.
To be fair, I don't think Wenger did say it.
No way would Alex Ferguson have done that. Or Jose Mourinho. Are you joking? It's unthinkable. He's the only manager who would do that.
I do think Arsenal did exactly the right thing. Talk about an action in the spirit of the game. Certainly the spirit of fair play. They did do the right thing without a doubt.
Not many players score in an FA Cup tie, let alone get a hat-trick, but that was exactly what Tim Bazaglo did for Woking against West Brom in the third round in 1991. Who is this guy?
I love the fact that he was an estate agent who played cricket for Gibraltar. Again, that is the FA Cup in one man, because he shouldn't be scoring a hat-trick and sending Woking through in the FA Cup against the league side, but he did it. I remember he went on Match of the Day, didn't he, with Des Lynam, looked really uncomfortable, and then did Des ask him to say goodnight?
Remember, there's only one Tim Bazaglo. Here he is with the match ball. Say goodnight, Tim.
Good night.
The day of the final is special. There's nothing like it.
They were the favourites going into the game. They had the best team, world-class players who were winning World Cups at the time. You know, your Vieiras and your Petits and Henry up front, who was possibly the best player in the world at the time.
Va-va-voom, Mr. Henry.
Henry is onside, jumps for Arsenal. Thierry Henry will take what's the call back, and should he have pulled it back? He's missed the chance. Claimed it was a corner, but the referee's given a goal kick.
And he's missed the sitter, and it's like the world's ended. It's almost like, can that really happen?
I will always replay that play in my head because I'm like, when I hit that ball, I saw Sylvain Wiltord on my left. And if I played Sylvain Wiltord, it would have been 1-0.
There's a look on his face, isn't there, as if to say, no, wasn't me, it must have been someone else.
And we're looking at Henry and thinking it's never going to happen for him. It's never going to happen.
What was actually annoying is they gave them a goal kick.
We had a great season that season, won all those trophies and finished second in the league, but they were pretty special, and I think that day they showed it in their superiority for the most part of the game.
If we'd have lost that cup final 4-5-0, we'd have had no complaints. We were totally bossed for the majority of it.
Even the Liverpool players will tell you that final should have been 8-9, 8-9, 10 something.
And then just getting sucker punched with Michael. You know, it was just so frustrating.
Oh, and Hoopier gets right in the middle of that. Pushing and shoving, and there's a shot, and there's the equaliser. Michael Owen has done it. With only 8 minutes to go, Liverpool are level.
You know, when you feel like I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't know when or I didn't know how.
Fox in a box scores the first one, and you're like, mate, please, just leave it alone.
You know, 5 minutes to go, and it was 1-1, and everyone looking at the prospect of extra time and the blistering heat in Cardiff. But we just had all the momentum, and their shoulders slumped, and we knew it was our time.
This is Berger, and Robbie Fowler looks sprightly now. He wants the ball played early, but so does Owen. And he's getting the other side of Dixon. Michael Owen for Liverpool. Yes! Oh, he's done it! What an incredible hero for Michael Owen. Unbelievable stuff.
I didn't really think I could score from there, if I'm honest. But I thought, if I take another touch, I'm going to run out of angle, I'm going to have to then chop back, wait for someone to come and support me or whatever. And I just thought, this is just the time I've got to let fly, and hopefully it's accurate. And my left foot was never my best of friends over the years, but I will never forget it from doing that in the cup final.
It wasn't even like a really hard shot, but it was just like the surprise of it. You know, I just got my fingertips to it thinking I've got it, and then next thing it's in the goal.
Surely, David, bit of this. Straight left arm, son. Could have got rid of that.
To score a goal that big on a big stage like that, you get lost in the moment. I've done it myself at times with celebrations, and he did as well, but that's what ruined it for me, the cartwheel. It wasn't good enough, was it?
There's a time and the place, Michael. Cartwheels are not the correct way, you know, to celebrate a goal.
You're not allowed to call it cartwheel, by the way. He's adamant about that, isn't he? Handspring, apparently. It's a handspring.
I don't know where it came from. I'd never done a handspring in 10 years, and the excitement just boiled over into doing something that you've never done before, and it was only afterwards when I looked at the tape I thought, oh my word, I tried to do a handspring, and thankfully I landed on my feet, but it wasn't the prettiest of manoeuvres.
And it's Michael Owen who is celebrating with 2 goals from the master marksman that win the 2001 FA Cup.
We just had a world-class player in our team who had 2 fantastic moments that spun the game on its head.
And I remember sitting in Cardiff in a coffee shop with my friends and how on earth have we lost that? How have we lost that? We destroyed Liverpool.
It was a sad day because that final was in our hand. I didn't see them scoring or whatever, and they were resilient and they wanted.
That was a smashing grab, that was a robbery that day.
And the first FA Cup final in Wales is won by a man called Owen.
Rio, every footballer must dream about winning this.
Yeah, of course, but for some clubs, just knocking out a big team is just as sweet as getting your hands on the trophy, I tell you.
Do you mean those games where it's really foggy, you can hardly see, everybody's running around in ankle-deep mud, and the guys who are painters and decorators during the week have knocked out some guys who were on loads of money?
Exactly. Now you're talking. That's what this is all about, the FA Cup.
It's a dim and dismal Wrexham evening, isn't there? The clouds are gathering, the pitch is a mess. Mickey Thomas steps up. He's 37, he's still got the hair, the knees might have gone, but the magic is still in the feet.
It's Thomas who takes it. Oh, what a goal, Mickey Thomas! He's done it, the magic little man at the venerable age of 37.
But Mickey Thomas, you know, what a great lad he is as well, and to step up and hit that free kick, probably in Wrexham's history, that is probably the best moment ever.
For a 37-year-old to try and get away with that haircut, you're having a laugh, aren't you?
Yeah, the hair. I mean, it's great. You know, it's all about Barnett's them days, wasn't it? You know, we all looked at Kevin Keegan, people like that, and modelled our Barnett's on that, as they say.
I don't know where he got the power from, because his legs don't look like he can generate that much power.
I'm on the Kop celebrating the winner because Wrexham were my team, so for me, one of the best goals I've ever witnessed.
And there's the whistle. Wrexham have achieved a really famous FA Cup victory.
Always poor old David Seaman being beaten from some distance, but Mickey's would have beaten pretty much any goalkeeper around.
Mickey, I've seen you play for a number of those, about 12 clubs you've had. I've never seen you hit a free kick like that, though.
Well, it's the first time the manager's let me take one, to be honest, Des. So, I mean, I was well pleased, obviously, with the strike.
That's not true. That's not true, Des. He's taken 3 or 4 this season. They've ended up in the stand.
The final in 2013 was a huge moment. Again, it's the year of the underdog. Manchester City, with all the money that they've spent against the underdog Wigan.
And they go into the cup final. It's like David versus Goliath. It's like chalk and cheese. There's no comparison in the two clubs. City had to win this game.
As the game went on, Wigan got better and better and better. They started well, and I think I'm waiting for Manchester City, and I'm looking at them thinking, come on then, you know, all you big game players, show us what you've got. And all of a sudden, this moment was produced by Ben Watson.
Maloney's corner, played into the airport, headed in by Watson! Watson's header has won the FA Cup final for Wigan Athletic!
It's every boy's dream, score a winner in FA Cup final, and that was it. You know, I'm never normally up for corners, either taking them or back, but you know, snuck in there and you know, thankfully got my head on it, and as I say, thankfully it was the winner.
It's that moment in football where you realise that anything can happen. Even though you have better players, you might be a better squad. There's something that you can't beat, man, in life, and that's having heart. Wigan played with their heart.
What a day for Ben Watson. I think that goal moved him into the top 3 juniors of all time. He's up there with Paul Scholes, Ed Sheeran, and Ben Watson. What a lineup.
This moment was produced by Ben Watson for them, for the club, and Roberto Martinez.
It was a great day, not only for Roberto Martinez, but for Dave Whelan also, having broke his leg in his career in a cup final. So for him to lead his team out and to sit there and to watch his team lift that FA Cup, what a moment for him.
Who'd have thought it? A small town club like Wigan, little old Wigan, beat the billionaires of Manchester City.
Early on in my career, I got compared to George Best, and as a 17-year-old, you think, what's going on?
If Lionel Messi is thinking of signing for Manchester United and think, oh, would I be able to do it on a Tuesday night in Stoke? Have a look at this. This is George Best scoring 6 goals. All right, the opposition, you know, are not great. He's playing Northampton. But look at the pitch.
He scores 6 in an 8-2 thrashing of Northampton. And I mean every way you can, with his head, with his foot, walking, running, you know, dribbling. However you want to do it, he did it.
He just glided past players with the ball effortlessly, like a knife through butter. And it was, you know, he was an idol to a lot of people.
That was George Best. He just had that swagger, he just had that confidence, and yeah, the way that he dummied the keeper and smashed it in the net is what he was all about.
I mean, who has the audacity and the cheekiness to just walk it around the goalkeeper and then walk it into a net?
He can pull off those short shorts, he can pull off that hair, he can pull off those sideburns, and you just know he probably had a huge night the night before, and he still turns up and he still breaks records and makes history.
He looks like he's mad at himself. He's like, I'm too good.
For Best to get 6 on a pitch like Northampton's was, I mean, it's beyond belief, really. You get players now moaning about the length of the grass. On you know, and these pitches that you look at now, and they look like snooker tables.
That's when you start to appreciate what a real talent George Best was, with the conditions that he played on and the players he was playing against.
Best United player ever.
In 1956, when Birmingham took on Manchester City in the FA Cup final, football was proper football, and men were real men, especially City's goalkeeper Bert Troutman.
That's Brown. And I think Troutman's hurt. Yes, and so's Murphy.
A lot of people do not know the history of Bert Troutman. He's a German prisoner of war, and then he comes out and then he gets a contract with a football team, and then he ends up playing at Wembley.
Looks like Murphy's knee and Troutman's head.
The goal's really, oh, my poor knee, oh, your neck got in the way of my really hard, bony knee.
Troutman's still having trouble with that neck of his.
All modern players should be made to watch that footage and say, look, stop rolling around on the floor. Yeah. He has broken his neck. Yeah. And he's going to play on.
Now, you know, Ronaldo, if his hair's out of place, he doesn't even continue.
That isn't his neck, that's his stomach. Oh, poor old Troutman's having a terribly tough time.
I think players nowadays are just more mollycoddled, aren't they? I mean, get a grip. You know, back in the day, a bloke with a dodgy jacket and a sponge just wiped your face and hair, and you got on with it.
To Brown, this could be a hit. And there goes down Troutman again. He's got another crack on his neck.
You know, when you see him, you know he's done something wrong, you know, because he's reacting weirdly. And, you know, after the game, when you find out that he's broke his neck, it's amazing.
That is how popular he is with the Manchester fans, the tremendous cheering.
You think in this day and age, they'd be a lot crueler, wouldn't they? You've broken your neck, you
And Troutman now receiving that coveted medal, having a word with His Royal Highness. I should imagine he's forgotten all about his bad neck now.
Broken neck is not romantic in any way, but this is the romance of the FA Cup, that it has stories like that.
There's not many times Manchester United go into cup finals as underdogs, but we did that day. Although we didn't think so, we fancied our chances strongly.
Everton had just won the league, were going for the League and Cup double, which not many teams had done prior to that. That was a real unprecedented thing at that particular time.
Well, there was 2 big turning points really. The football wasn't great that day, but obviously Reedy done as usual, big dive.
McGrath, mistake by McGrath, and the through here, well, Reid has been brought down by Kevin Moran. That has to be a booking at the very least. It looks as though Peter Willis is going to send Kevin Moran off, and we could have a player sent off in the FA Cup final for the first time ever.
It was unfair, I thought, Kevin getting sent off, and even Reid himself didn't want Kevin sent off.
To say Peter Reid was denied a goal-scoring opportunity when he was something like 40 yards from our goal. He's never ran 40 yards in his life, Reedy.
Poor Kevin Moran copped it, didn't he? Even though these days you could definitely argue it wasn't an obvious goal-scoring opportunity.
But that was a massive turning point, and for us, we just looked at each other, actually thinking, what is going on here? We have to do something about this.
And here's Whiteside. Strachan is following up. Olsen on this side. That's all he's got. Whiteside shoots. It's there! Norman Whiteside has done it again.
I think Neville Southall had a cap or a towel on the side netting, because I'm sure Norman said, I just aimed for his towel. it was unstoppable.
The youngest scorer in Wembley FA Cup final history 2 years ago. He's still only just 20, and he writes another chapter.
People said, did he mean it? I saw him do that many, many times in training. I mean, he was brilliant at that.
I mean, I tried it all the time in training, but I never, it never worked, but it worked on the big day, thank God.
Manchester United have won the FA Cup for the second time in 3 years. And what can you say about Norman Whiteside? A cult figure now in Manchester United history.
The FA Cup semi-final at Hillsborough in 1989 will always be remembered as a time when football didn't matter, as 96 fans tragically lost their lives.
Some people said that the final between Liverpool and Everton shouldn't have been played, but it was the next month, and it turned out to be a classic that brought a grieving city together.
This should have been the final that didn't matter. It was really of no consequence to anybody.
That FA Cup final was when the city came together as one, and United really, in what was a huge tragedy, and so many people lost their lives going to watch a game of football.
It was fitting because it was a Liverpool final against Everton, our arch rivals, and then it was the closest final that we've ever been in.
It was a hard game to play, emotionally obviously, because of what had gone on before.
Fans mixed from moment one all the way through. You'll Never Walk Alone was just an amazing moment.
I don't think I've ever been at a game where, you know, one song, You'll Never Walk Alone in this instance, was sung by both sets of supporters, but it was just absolutely fantastic. And there are moments in your life where you sit there and you take things in, and there's almost that little pause, and you go, did that actually happen? And it did.
I still had an air of strangeness about it, but once it starts, you still want to win.
It was a great game as well, which nobody was bothered about to start with, but it was fitting. It just worked, and only Liverpool and Everton could have played that game.
It was as though, because of Hillsborough, the shackles were off, and it was like, you know, it's two Merseyside teams. We owe it to people to show what we are all about after Hillsborough, and boy, did they.
Ratcliffe. Watson's up. Here's McCall again. Oh, yes! It's 2-2.
It's a bit more of an emotional final, obviously, because of the events of Hillsborough, and I think someone was looking down on us that day because Everton were terrific, and the game went to the wire again, but we managed to sneak over the line.
Rush! Goal! 3-2 Liverpool. Ian Rush gets his second.
Again, Rushy turns on Everton and does the business.
You speak to the lads now about that cup final, and yet it was fitting that Liverpool and Everton come, but they'll tell you they wanted to win it for the fans, but their hearts weren't in football.
And Liverpool have won the FA Cup, the first leg of the double, and in a fine, dramatic final, surely lifted the spirits of our whole city and of the game of football.
It was a hard-fought game, and for Merseyside it was one of the games that Everton can be proud, as well as ourselves.
You know, it's very difficult game to actually play in, and one that you think that you're never going to win.
I thought both sets of supporters on the day really, you know, made Merseyside proud, and you know, it was a bit of a different FA Cup final because it had an emotional twist to it.
In many, many ways, you know, that football was the winner that day because it was just a fantastic game.
For now, that victory is for the 96.
A terrible tragedy, but an incredible response by the players and fans made for a great final.
Absolutely. Time now to count down the top 10 greatest FA Cup moments, starting with another great final, arguably the greatest ever.
Leeds United were such strong favourites. Sunderland were a team of hardly anybody had ever heard of any of their players at the time.
Hughes with the kick. Porterfield! And Sunderland have done what they threatened to do.
Probably even more talked about than the goal is Jimmy Montgomery's double save, which still is the best cup final save that's ever happened.
Leeds are really pushing forward. Cherry, brilliant save, and Lorimer makes it one each. No. Astonishing.
Jimmy Montgomery did the business. Thank you very much. Not quite sure how he got to Lorimer's second shot after Trevor Cherry's header, but he did. It was just their day. Goalkeeper was outstanding. They scored the goal that mattered, and their name's on the cup. And you know, that's all Sunderland fan cares about.
The referee looked at the watch. Sunderland have won the cup from the second division.
I was born 11 days before the 1973 Cup final, and it was my mum's first big day out, as you'd expect after I was born. She talks about it fondly. She's forgotten that Leeds United lost because she had such a good time. And I always see those pictures and you know, see the footage of that game and feel kind of quite sad that I'd just been born, because I think, oh, if only I'd managed to produce a win with my birth. And obviously it must have been a bittersweet kind of few weeks in the house. My dad had his first child, and then he came on 75 minutes in an FA Cup final and was on the losing side.
Mark Stokoe, the first to congratulate Montgomery, who, after all the Leeds pressure, did so well in the second half against the Leeds attack.
Dear old Bob Stokoe running on the pitch at the end in his white Mac to go and celebrate with Jim Montgomery. Just a fantastic, fantastic moment. Vivid memories of this bad boy.
And I'm feeling glad all over.
Yes, I'm glad all over.
Glad all over.
Good afternoon to those of you at home, many of you who are able to fully savour it with us this occasion with the crowd inside Villa Park on a very sunny day.
Palace Liverpool is possibly it is one of the best semi-finals ever.
7 months before, they'd lost 9-0. I mean, that's not a defeat, that's an absolute annihilation. 9-0 against Liverpool.
Nobody really gave them a prayer, and up to half-time it sort of went as was predicted, really. Liverpool very calm, confident, in control of the game.
McMahon intercepting, Rush going to the left now, onside, Ian Rush. Liverpool take the lead, and Ian Rush, the ace goal scorer, once again makes it look so easy.
Ian Rush scored really early in that game, and as a Palace fan, now you can imagine, head in the hands, come on, just keep it to 5.
And then the game just exploded about 5 minutes after half-time. John Pemberton went on an unbelievable run, which I don't think he was instructed to do.
Well, let's see what Palace can do about it now in the second half as they attack the whole end here at Villa Park. John Pemberton, a lovely run early on, and a chance for Barber, and Venison, and it's a shot, and it's there by Bright. It's Mark Bright, straight from the kick-off. After John Sulako's shot didn't quite get there, Bright certainly did, and Palace are level.
If we were able to time his coverage of distance, I think that's 8 seconds for 100 metres right there. Usain Bolt would be a good 10 yards behind him.
What a dramatic start to the second half, and Liverpool are stunned.
There's a shot when Dalglish looks really confused, annoyed. But I think one of the thoughts going through his head is, why on earth am I wearing this massive coat? It's quite hot. Can't take it off now, it looks stupid.
There was this air about the second half that anything was possible and that we weren't out of the game.
His team were 10 minutes away from Wembley, let it be said. They're now less than 3 minutes away from going out. Thomas, and Bright's in there, and Thomas, Staunton, Gray, 3-3! Andy Gray for Palace, they're back in it!
One of the few times I'd seen that Liverpool team look really, really vulnerable at the back and rocks in terms of the way they were defending.
Thorne picked it on, and it's gone in! Pardew! 4-3 Palace!
Alan Pardew, who at that time was not a favourite amongst Crystal Palace supporters. He was one of the lesser-known players nationally, and up he pops with one of the most famous goals in the Eagles' history, and I guess it would have helped make his name for the career in management that he went on to have, because that was undoubtedly the best moment of his playing career.
You speak to Palace fans now, and yes, they'll remember some of the promotions. Yes, they'll remember some of the great moments, but no one will ever forget that semi-final.
And Crystal Palace are at Wembley. They've beaten Liverpool, whose dream of the double is destroyed, in one of the most amazing matches, surely, in the recent history of the FA Cup.
Whenever a non-league team beats any league team, it's a story, but when there's such a gap between the teams, it's one that everybody talks about and remembers fondly.
Coventry go to Sutton United, and Sutton found it on the day, we've got a chance here to beat a first division side as it was, who were FA Cup holders, let's produce a shot.
And Golly, and Reigns, and a goal! And they have done it, and Tony Reigns!
You've got to remember that Coventry were the winners of the FA Cup 2 seasons ago, and this is Sutton United. And it was, I can really vividly remember my dad saying, oh, you know, this is a he doesn't really talk like that, but this is a proper one, this one.
Here's Dawson. Oh, and driven in! And number 11, Matthew Hanlon, followed that in. And Sutton have done it again from a corner kick.
If that game hadn't happened, then we would never remember the name of Matthew Hanlon, but that was his one moment in time, and he grabbed it.
Matthew Hanlon played a big part for Sutton United. Wonder what he's doing now.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago.
OK, next one.
We're all lined up, Blackpool in the dark shirts kicking off for this 1953 Cup Final, and away they go.
Growing up, you could not have Cup Final Day without them talking about the Matthews final.
Don't forget, this was only 8 years after the war, and the country was just getting itself back on its feet, and football had been a great catalyst for that. Crowds were huge, and Stanley Matthews was the great hero. He'd had 2 cracks at the FA Cup, and people were saying in '53, this has got to be Stan's last chance.
And you had this opportunity in the Cup Final, as a veteran, maybe he could get his medal.
And it was a Lancashire hot pot, Blackpool against Bolton Wanderers. Mortensen managed to sort of nudge one in at the far post for 3-2. And then Blackpool rewarded a free kick on the edge of the penalty area. And, you know, we've seen some fantastic free kicks down the last 10, 20 years. But if you look back to that one in 1953, my goodness me, does Mortensen hit it.
There he is, Mortensen. It's a lovely goal!
Now we were poised for this fantastic climax. 47 seconds to go or something. Matthews has got the ball on the right wing and he's teasing the Bolton left back and he's doing that usual shuffle and then the quick run down the outside, which was Stanley's forte, of course.
There's the man who's really fighting for his cup medal. Could he score the winning goal now, himself? He's there! Perry!
The stadium went absolutely wild. And of course, people call it Matthews' Cup Final. It was Mortensen's Cup Final, really, because he scored arguably 3 goals.
It should be called the Stan Final. And this is, genuinely, I wasn't alive, but I'm still angry about this now.
I mean, that's wound me up. It was me, and it was like someone else had got it, and Fenwick had got an hat-trick.
Overrated, I say, Stanley Matthews. Overrated.
Imagine scoring the hat-trick and not... I mean, I'd be livid. I'd be absolutely livid.
You are livid, and you weren't even there.
There's Stanley, at long last he's done it. And everybody cheering him.
And Stanley Matthews winning the FA Cup, it just put the cap on it, really, especially as he made the last-minute winning goal.
It's unquestionably the greatest cup final.
There he is, Matthews. And no wonder a smiling face. Eddie Shimwell.
Gaza is just, like the FA Cup, an institution of English football.
Paul Gascoigne at that particular time was flying. He was one of the best in world football.
They say he shouldn't have even played in the game because he wasn't fully fit. He'd just come back from a double hernia or something like that. So, you know, he was another one that loved the big occasion.
Someone had told Gaza, whether it was true or not, that the Arsenal team had been measured up for their cup final suits before the semi-final. So he was pretty pumped.
Play with, he was great. Play against, he was murder.
The free kick just left of centre.
He steps up to take that free kick.
You know, Seaman's in goal. I mean, you're not really going to bet against Seaman from that distance.
I was just thinking, yeah, go on then, hit it. Because I'll easily save this.
Is Gascoigne going to have a crack? He is, you know. Oh, it's there! Brilliant!
When he strikes that ball and it flies and keeps flying and gliding through the air, I think the whole stadium probably held their breath for a minute there.
Is there anything left from this man to surprise us?
I did get my studs caught, and I held my hands up straight away, and you know, he was like having none of it. No, it was the power and the bend that beat you and everything, but I know.
It was just a fantastic moment in a huge game, and if anyone was going to score a goal like that, then you wanted it to be Gazza.
He never ever lets me forget it.
I'm happy. I'm now away to get me shoot measured. Yes! What about your start to the game? It wasn't bad, was it?
That free kick epitomised him really of his career and the way that he was, that he could produce these real moments that we could all cherish and watch back in years to come.
The whole world watched Gazza, and at times like that, he delivered.
No one seems to remember the 2 goals I scored.
Don't you dare go moaning about Lineker not getting enough attention.
And Lineker uses him by not using him. Good try, score!
Who cares, he got 2 in that game.
But it was a stinging shot, so it would have probably gone through the hands of many a goalkeeper.
So Gazza's heroics takes them to the final against Forest, and then he goes in for a tackle, totally mistimed, totally misjudged, injures himself in the process, has to be stretchered off, and that's the end of his FA Cup final.
So it was a day of mixed emotions, certainly for Gazza. Obviously he was never quite the same, didn't move quite the same after that day, but at the same time he was part of the side that won the FA Cup, and he was the main reason we won the FA Cup.
Spurs have won the FA Cup for a record 8th time.
Gazza, what a player. His movement, his dribbling, his passing, just an absolute incredible player.
He is capable, or was capable, of producing pieces of magic, whether that was a Spurs shirt or a Newcastle shirt or even an England shirt.
What a player. Just in that year or two while he was at the top of his game was enough to make him last in my memory bank for a lifetime.
What a genius Paul Gascoigne is.
I don't want us to make this hammy, but I don't feel like we can talk about the FA Cup without listing a load of cliches.
Well, you've got David versus Goliath, giant killings, hallowed turf, part-time minnows.
You know exactly what I'm talking about, but do commentators have to use at least 3 of them?
No, but they'd all love a Ronnie Radford moment.
Prior to 1972, the FA Cup must have been pretty dull, because no FA Cup montage is complete without Ronnie Radford.
Radford again. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Radford the scorer! Ronnie Radford!
In that moment, that is, for me, that is the magic of the cup. Cannot beat it.
Without Ronnie Radford, there's no John Motson, because that goal made Motson.
Of course, it was my first FA Cup tie for the BBC, and being there on that day did me no harm at all.
No Motson, no FA Cup. So basically the whole thing goes back to Ronnie Radford. Without Ronnie Radford, there's no FA Cup.
Thank you.
Radford again. Oh, what a goal! What a goal! Radford the scorer! Ronnie Radford!
That's all I concentrated on, and I just hit it, and you know, it didn't go in car park, did it?
A tremendous reply from Radford.
The ball sits up, bang! Oh, pitch invasion.
The crowd are invading the pitch, and now it will take some time to clear the field. What a tremendous shot by Radford.
As soon as it soars in, the next thing is he's just surrounded by green snorkel parkers. Like 1 million paper boys from all around the country.
I always remember it as the last really peaceful pitch invasion I ever saw, because things got a little less pleasant as the 70s went on.
I like fans on the pitch. I know it's not politically correct to say that, but if it's for the right reasons and everybody disperses quickly, there's no greater explosion of joy, is there?
And let's not forget, Ricky George got the other one. Because Ronnie Radford gets all the credit, but Ricky George got one. I remember you.
George.
And yes!
And then the crowd were on the pitch again. And
yeah.
That was the greatest thing that we could have ever have achieved.
It's all over, they've done it! Well, what a cup tie. What can you say?
The Mayor of Hereford
went into the Newcastle dressing room straight after the game, and he went, "Bad luck, lads, but you'll have to admit that the best team won."
First and foremost, let's deal with the rubbish, which was the Tottenham FA Cup song.
Ozzy's going to Wembley, his knees have gone all trembly. Come on, you Spurs, come on, you Spurs.
When it gets into Spurs territory, mate, that's where I bail.
I didn't want to do it. I didn't like the song at all.
It's a terrible, terrible song.
Spurs are on their way to Wembley.
The song was Ozzy Goes to Wembley, so it was kind of my song, so it shouldn't be like that. But what about the other 10 and all the other players? And when people think that I didn't like it, until now, now maybe because I'm older and so on, I do like it now. In fact, I think it's a wonderful song.
Yeah, I think Chaz and Dave, I think they're pretty underrated. They've done well for a couple of homeless lads.
One thing to leave your home country, it's another thing to be bullied by Chaz and Dave on arrival.
Yeah, I'm not sure he knew what was going on, to be fair, maybe for the whole of his stay at Tottenham. I think he was just doing his best and waiting for a visa to turn up.
Ozzy's going to Wembley, his knees have gone all trembly. Come on, you Spurs, come on, you Spurs.
Ozzy's going to Wembley, his knees are going trembly. I mean, that is genius.
No wonder Chaz and Dave went downhill from that point onwards. They would never reach those heights again.
One of the great lines of all time. If Bob Dylan had written that...
Ozzy, we're gonna be behind you, all together, man for man. We know you're gonna play a blinder. In the cup for Tottenham.
Probably this is the way no, probably not. That was the way I said it at the time. Bad teacher, I have a bad English teacher, I blame.
The cup for Tottenham. Wow.
Ozzy didn't just go to Wembley, he went twice. And the following Thursday in the replay, it was fellow Argentinian Ricky Villa who stole the show.
It was one of my first memories, really, of watching TV and thinking, oh, that was special.
And still Ricky Villa. What a fantastic run. He scored. Amazing goal by Ricky Villa.
Ricky Villa dodged 6 players, ducking and diving and weaving with such cool and calm. Banged it in, they win, and it's all thanks to this Argentinian who is just cool as you like.
He's jinking one way, he's taking it with his left foot, he's taking it with his right foot.
There's 2, there's 3, there's 4. It feels like he takes on everyone.
It was on the biggest stage, you know, FA Cup final, and it was just different. It was a goal that you'd never seen before.
There are certain goals that meant a lot more. This one meant a lot because we won the FA Cup, because it was Ricky, and because it was a beautiful goal.
Ozzy Ardila has fulfilled his great ambition. He has won an FA Cup winners' medal, and it's in the 100th final.
Have you done the Garth Crooks leg? Oh, you've got to do this. Garth Crooks is sort of bottom left of the screen, and just when Ricky Villa kicks the ball, Garth Crooks does this. He does a fake right-footed kick because he knows how important it is for Ricky Villa to score this goal against Manchester City. And Crooks' little fake, go on, he's one of them, get in there. Get your wobbly leg out, Garth.
What do you reckon it takes to win this?
Well, you've got to be organised, you've got to be strong as a team, a game plan, great team spirit. And when you get in the final, you've really got to go for it and grab it by the kahunas.
I get the team spirit thing, but is that really necessary?
You've got to seize a chance. Take it and don't let it go.
The Crazy Gang. What can I say that hasn't been said?
A naughty boys club.
This small team from South London.
And we fought off everybody. The Crazy Gang never went out to ultimately intimidate people. We started off getting ourselves, you know, going and getting the adrenaline going and the buzz.
Part of their image, their mantra, their joy was to be a little bit crazy.
Crap in each other's shoes and set fire to their houses and, you know, kill their pets. Brilliant banter.
They sort of looked mental. They were a good outfit, like Dave Beslin, Sanchez.
Dennis Wise, like a little, you know, Jack Russell in the midfield, biting and kicking, and then, oh dear me.
They were mouthy and they were totally unpleasant to play against. but you knew you were in a game and it was tough.
And then Vinny just trying to plough through everybody.
He's all right, Vinnie Jones. I mean, like, he did a very unique job as a footballer.
Vinny's juggernaut, innit? Literally.
He's physically imposing, and he's got this steely gaze, and he just has this presence, which I can imagine, you know, if you were some kind of, you know, quite skinny player, kind of that he's got to mark, you would just look at him and think, he's going to crush me.
He's probably on this programme, isn't he? Well, I'm just going to say he's really great. He's a very nice man, and he's very articulate. I mean, it's a character, isn't it? It's a character. Right?
What about the game today?
Yeah, there's plenty of that going on.
Liverpool had gone out and they was in a tunnel already. And we were, you know, we'd made them wait a little bit. And Vinny and Fash had a shout, and no one knows what it means. They used to shout, "Yidda-ho! Yidda-ho!"
And I think at that moment they realised we got ourselves a game today.
One of they're saying a defining moment was the first challenge of Vinny and Steve McMahon.
I'd watched Steve McMahon hundreds of times get the ball from the fullback, let it run across his body, turn out and play it out that way. So I was going to nail him.
Here's McMahon. Oof, Vinnie Jones caught him there. Now that's precisely the sort of challenge that Wimbledon have been, shall we say, reputed to produce.
He was a proper tackle. He got the ball, got the man, put him up in the air.
I just remember seeing his legs way above his head.
That was a statement. You know, Vinny was our man, Macca was their man, and we won that battle.
He didn't know where he was, and they were sponging him down. He was looking around his face.
And Sanchez was in there, and that's a goal for Wimbledon. Laurie Sanchez.
We all stood and went, "Hey, what's just happened?" Of course, Fash and Sanch didn't get on. They hated each other. So Fash weren't too happy about going jumping all over Sanch and congratulating him. So it's quite weird, the celebration, if you look at it.
There is Aldridge, Beardsley. Well, he might score here. Hamilton. Good year on Aldridge. Wimbledon protest at the decision. Goodyear thinks he played the ball.
I'd seen John Aldridge take probably 3 penalties. He come up, he'd done a little stutter, and in that little stutter, the keeper tended to move one way or the other. And I said, if I can stand still through that stutter, and he sees me standing still, he tends to go to my left.
Besson thought the kick might go to his left or the right as we look, if Aldridge decides to go the same way as in the semi-final. He did, and he saved it, and made history. The first time ever that a penalty kick has not been converted in the FA Cup final here. And Besson did guess right. His homework paid off.
We'd watched so many videos. If Dave Besson hadn't have gone the right way, I'd have killed him.
Oh, and there it is. The crazy gang have beaten the Culture Club.
Well, Boy George was big at that time, wasn't he? Come a Chameleon and all that.
Apparently they had the nickname the Crazy Gang, which they'd given themselves for years, and it wasn't until Motson said it on the telly that everyone started using it, which is good, because there's nothing worse than a nickname you've given yourself.
Wimbledon have destroyed Liverpool's dreams of the double, and all over the pitch, their players are celebrating something which a few years ago would have been impossible. Her Royal Highness applauds one of the great cup shocks of all time.
People that knew about the game and about football knew that, you know, we weren't just a pub team.
It's a weird and wonderful world if you come from Wimbledon. They've won the FA Cup.
Colonel Wisey behind me. Aye, you. And I'm thinking again, I think, Princess Diana's there, like, you're just abusing in front of Princess Diana.
Everybody played their part, and without each character within that team, we wouldn't achieve what we did.
Got up on the Monday morning, severe hangover, and it was like it was all over. The biggest thing in your life. Monday morning, everything was back to normal.
It was one of the great FA Cup finals for drama.
everything that a final should have.
Going into the final we were very confident. Looking back on the game now, maybe a little bit too overconfident, and we certainly got a big shock in the opening 20 minutes.
Takes on Hyypiä. Edrington shot. Oh, fumble by Raynham. Dane Ashton. And have West Ham gone to him? Yes, they have. And Liverpool are rocks.
I didn't expect to get the start we got, so it was a major shock.
There was a sort of a sense that, oh yes, this is it, this is real. But by the time we were 2 goals up, that's when I thought, this can't last. This can't be real.
Unbelievable feeling, 2-0 up. And being a West Ham fan, you just know, don't let them get a goal.
Oh, and Cisse was coming in there. Oh, and he's got it! Djibril Cisse gets a goal back for Liverpool, and what a cup final we've got here now.
Once they scored 1, then you just thought, this could be it.
This is Alonso. 2 players far post. Here comes Gerrard! It's 2-2! It's Steven Gerrard for Liverpool!
Sometimes them knockdowns are not always perfect, but this one felt like a dream, and I got nice contact on it, and I knew as soon as it left my foot it was going to be in.
Liverpool get back in it and you think they're going to go on to win it, and then Konchesky scores.
Konchesky, would you believe it?
I mean, it looked fantastic, but it's got to be a cross. Surely it has to be.
Konchesky obviously knows that he's crossed it, but celebrates like it's a goal and it's intentional. And then Alan Pardew, the West Ham manager, if you watch him, he has the fastest drink in history. I don't know why. Maybe he's nervous and he's realised that we could potentially win the FA Cup final, but he literally goes like this, just downs it as fast as he can.
All of a sudden now, it's like a cruel trick on West Ham fans. Because you're going, well, OK, we haven't thrown it away, we've gone back in front now. Players were going down with cramp and everything, and the fourth official has just indicated 4 minutes, because the 90 minutes is up. And as he says 4 minutes, it comes out to Gerrard.
Every part of my body was aching, so when it fell to me, it was a lucky one. It was a, hit it as hard as you can.
Gerrard! He's got it! Oh, Steven Gerrard! Just when he looked into and out of it, and equalised for Liverpool. With 90 minutes gone, it's 3-3. It's surely the best cup final of modern times.
The reason I hit my shot to get the second equaliser was just through sheer tiredness. If I was feeling fresh, I'd have certainly controlled that and tried to build up an attack and play it out wide. I caught it, probably as sweet as a connection I've had in my career.
And he just wallops this shot in for, it must be 30, 35 yards out.
He just connected with it the way that even professional footballers dream about hitting a shot like that. It was a great strike.
Shaka Hislop got down to his right, but he couldn't get near it.
To see that one hit the back of the net was a bit of a shock because of how far out I was, but I'll take it.
And that's it then. Extra time or not, we're not going to win this.
After the way the game had gone and how Liverpool had pulled it back from the brink, you always felt that in the penalty shootout that they were going to come out on top.
Anton Ferdinand has got to score. If he doesn't score from this, Liverpool have won the cup. They have won the cup! Pepe Reina is the hero! Liverpool have won the FA Cup for the 7th time!
I can't even remember the penalties and things. I'm not even sure what happened. It was just like a sort of a wasteland.
Steven Gerrard was phenomenal that day, and he's got to be up there with the greatest Liverpool players that have ever pulled on that red shirt.
That is a perfect example of just how important Gerrard is to Liverpool. And genuinely, at times, it can be a one-man show, and he's very, very capable, and he shows that.
He's done that time and time again. And you've just got to hold your hands up and just say, it's a quality player, and that's what big players do. They produce at the right time.
I certainly peaked on that day, and one of my favourite performances that I've ever had.
So that is it. The big countdown is over. We've reached number 1.
Yep, what an achievement. The greatest ever FA Cup moment.
Now, you have scored plenty of goals in your time, and you've had some great celebrations, and rightly so.
Well, who wouldn't go bananas after scoring a goal in an FA Cup game?
Exactly. Ryan Giggs, over to you.
Is it number 1? Oh, is it the number 1 moment? Oh, yeah.
If you say Ryan Giggs, to me this is the goal that you remember him for.
Yeah, obviously at the time it was the 2 top teams in the Premier League and fighting it out for everything really.
And the whole build-up was whoever wins this game, whoever goes into the FA Cup final,
will also win the Premier League. So this had much more significance than just getting through to the FA Cup final.
Two of the best teams in England came together and produced an absolute masterclass in football. There was nothing in the game. We probably shaded the first half, they shaded the second half, Roy got sent off, and then it was back to the wall stuff.
Carla. Wilcox made a run towards him. Oh, upended! Surely by Philip Neville, it's a penalty! 2 minutes of stoppage time have already been played at the end of the regulation 90. No question about the contact. And this, effectively, is for a place in the cup final. It's Bergkamp, and it's saved by Peter Schmeichel.
With penalties, it's just, honestly, luck of the draw. He put it exactly where I've already decided it was going to go.
Pete was the best keeper I've played with, but he wasn't great at saving penalties. Not that I can remember, he didn't save too many, so he saved it for obviously a special night.
Peter makes a great save. Next thing I know, Patrick gives the ball away.
No! Why couldn't that fell to any other player on the pitch?
One of the moments, and it gets everyone's on their feet.
Vieira. It's a careless pass. It's been picked up by Ryan Giggs. York has made a diagonal run. The support in the centre as well. But this is still Ryan Giggs who's past Keown, past Dixon, and has scored a sensational goal! What a moment for Ryan Giggs! And for Manchester United, it is one of the truly great FA Cup goals.
I couldn't really recollect how far I'd got the ball out and how many players that I'd beat. It was, like I say, it was just purely instinctive.
We're looking at it and we're like, take him out! Take him out!
No science about it, it was just whacking the ball as hard as I could.
It was a game that needed an individual to stand out and do something which was out of the ordinary. I can't remember I've seen anything like that at that time in a game of that importance.
Like, why have you not just taken him out, just gone clean through him?
It's the greatest thing I've ever seen on a football pitch. I'm not talking about the goal, I'm talking about Giggs' chest.
The physique was there for all to see. I mean, a lot of the girls would have been whooping, I should think, when he pulled his shirt up.
I was just like, whoa, hello.
A magnificently built man.
I remember with the shirt going around.
I was there in my living room, I was doing this. I had my shirt off.
It's very rare that you see Giggs get overexcited and get carried away, and I think you could see what that goal meant to him. Like,
I honestly don't know what I was doing, so it was just one of them moments where you just had an out-of-body experience and you just lost. Many players will tell you if you scored an important goal, you just don't know what you're doing.
That's good. That's good. That's good. Giggs is incredible. Oh my God, Giggs is hairy. the levels of excitement just keep coming. What?
You know, if I was as hirsute as Mr. Giggs, then I might well take my shirt off. Very impressive sort of thatch.
Dense Amazonian pubic forest.
I was only a kid and I didn't have any chest on me, like hair on my chest, and I was just, and my dad always had a big hairy chest, and that's the moment, because I used to look at my dad and think that looks weird, that does, but then when Giggsy did it, I was like, I can see it now.
I don't think many people thought that men had hair like that on their chest anyway. I can't even say it thinking about it. I don't think he has it anymore, does he?
I think it's gone now. I think it was. Last time I saw him. I don't often see him with his shirt off.
I'm surprised that Phil Neville looks at other men like that. And then I'm thinking, no, I'm not surprised at all.
Chest rug is no more, no. It's all gone silver and grey anyway, so yeah.
Giggs changed the way women look at men that day, I reckon, when he scored that goal.
It's the best goal I've ever scored, just purely because it was what I was all about as a player, really. Taking players on, unbalancing players.
I think it was a trademark for his career, that goal.
No doubt this thoroughly deserves to be the #1 FA Cup moment.
They're the goals that you remember, really, the ones that you score in the big game that matter.
Well, that was quite the journey, wasn't it?
Yep, stunning goals.
Constant drama.
Fairy tale comebacks.
Fashion disasters.
Giggsy's hairy chest.
Some serious giant killing.
Yeah, it had everything, didn't it?
We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have. I don't want to ruin the moment, but I did promise to give this back, so...
No, this is the first time I've had my hands on this trophy, so it's not going back anytime soon. So, goodbye all.
Goodbye, thanks for watching. That's quite a grip. This could get